Hello everybody, thanks for stopping by. Today we're going to take a look at our Audience Insights feature and the type of reports that we can generate from within Builder. So to start off, we are here within our demo guide under the Users and Groups portion in our Reports tab. And you'll notice here we have a couple of different reports that we can actually generate from Builder. The first is going to be the User Engagement Report. We can use the data in this report for things like targeted outreach if we wanted to reward really highly engaged users, and for promotion if we wanted to re-engage users that may not be so active in our guide after we've published it and we've started to promote it. The Session List Items report is our second type, and this would be really valuable if you wanted to use it as a lead sourcing tool. So if we had an exhibitor or a sponsor who was really interested in knowing who was interested in their product, in them as a company, and we can get that information from these two reports. So to start off, and we'll go through an example of all three of these. To start off, you'll want to first click to generate a report. Each report will take about 20 minutes to generate. Once they're done, you'll get an email and they will be accessible here in Builder. I've already gone ahead and downloaded a couple of those. Let's first take a look at our user histograms folder, and this is the actual folder that will be in the zip file for the user engagement report. And when we open that up, we'll see a couple of different things. First, we'll see our attendee manifest. This is our key file. Let's open this up and take a look. And you'll notice there's also a folder for attendees. Every specific attendee, every user is going to have their own folder that details their engagement with the actual content in the guide. And the manifest is our key. So the way this works, and I'll open this up side by side to show you a good comparison. Every single attendee is going to have their own attendee ID, and that's how you can find the specific file within the folder. So in the case of Aaron Ebert here on row 2, we can see that his attendee ID is 1145, and we can see him hanging out right here. And we'll take a look and open that up here in just a moment. But before we do that, let's run down what we're actually looking at here in the manifest. So in the manifest, we have the emails, first and last names, the IDs that we'll use to find the file. Session count, this is an important variable here. This is the amount of times that the user has actually opened the guide to engage. So Aaron has opened the guide 13 times. So anytime they open the guide, that counts as one session. Post count, these are posts to the Interact feed. Connection count, these are connections made with other attendees from the Attendees feature. And the scheduling count. Scheduling count is really important as well. So anytime the user goes to a schedule and they say, hey, I want to add this session to my schedule, that My Schedule icon in the guide, or if they add an item to their to-do list, let's say for instance they see an exhibitor they're interested in, they can add that exhibitor to their personal to-do list. That's an act of scheduling. So it's an act of personally saying, hey, put this information into my personal feature in the guide. And this is really important. So let's take a look at this information as a whole and see what we can glean from it. When I first started, I mentioned the user engagement report would be really, really great for, let's say, targeted outreach if we wanted to reward a highly engaged user. And we can use all of this information to tell who really is highly engaged with the actual content in the app. So who is opening it the most? Who is making the most posts on the Interact feed? Who is making connections? And who is actually engaging with content? If I had to pick a clear front runner here, I think it would be Nathan. It looks like Nathan has opened the guide about 14 times. He's made 5 posts. He's scheduled 10 items. We can get more information from his personal file, which we'll take a look at in just a second. But before we do that, one of the things that I like to do when I go through and I'm trying to gauge who is really engaged with my content, and this may vary from event to event, and everybody's specific level, the way they measure engagement is going to be slightly different. So if it's really important to you that your users go in and they're posting on the Interact feed, you may want to go through and say, okay, let's actually sort this information by post count. So if I want to reward someone with the highest post count, and I've sorted from bottom to top here, you would notice here that we have the users that have posted the most. And you can do this for sessions, for scheduling, and things like that. But for me, for my purposes, and for the purposes of this demo, what's most important to me is probably scheduling for my example. So let's go ahead, and I'm going to sort by scheduling. And I'll actually go largest to smallest since I want my largest at the top. Fantastic. So Nathan is our guy. He is the one that is most active. So let's actually open up and take a look and let's see what he's been up to. So his ID is 2283. There we go. Fantastic. So this is his own personal file. This is what he's been up to in the guide. You can see here that we have a breakdown of his full activity, the amount of times he's opened the guide, the amount of times he's added items to his personalized schedule, the amount of times he's added items to his to-do list, the amount of times he's commented on the Interact feed, the amount of times he's liked, he's posted photos, connections, and so forth. And this is a timeline of the actual event. So we can see here the 3 people that he's connected with, as referenced here. And we can see the items he's actually added into his schedule. So this is a really good breakdown. And you also have the information you need to reach out to him as a user and say, hey, thank you for being so engaged. The flip side of the coin, and I can minimize this to go back to the attendee manifest. What else can we glean from this information? Let's say, for instance, you've put a lot of work into your guide and you've promoted it, you've published it, and you've still got about 2 weeks before your event. You're probably going to want to know, who is not really using my guide. I want to be able to reach back out to them and say, hey, get back into the guide, re-engage. So what we can do is you can actually go through, and I would say let's sort by session count. We'll go from smallest to largest. So it looks like here, if I had to guess, if I had to choose who I was going to send some targeted promotional emails to leading up to the event, it would probably be this group here, as they've only opened the guide 1 or 2 times. So this information is really valuable. You'll really get a pretty good return on your investment, considering that once you've put all that hard work and the guide is out there alive and doing its thing out in the world, you can reach back out and you can grab that group of users that is not really using it, and you can use this information and send your materials back out to them to re-engage them and bring them back into the fold. So it's not just useful for rewarding someone who is highly engaged in the case of Nathan and a couple of other individuals down here, but for people that may not be as engaged to kind of bring them back into the fold. That's really, really important. And the third use case, I mentioned lead sourcing. So let's actually go, we're going to want to go to the sessions and list items report from there. And that will be the content report. And we'll actually use our custom list items manifest first. And the way these files behave is the same as the attendee manifest and the attendee files. So let's say, for instance, a custom list item, Google is a custom list item that exists in our exhibitor list in the guide. And Google has an ID. We can see here that 10 unique to-dos have been made to Google, which means that 10 individual users have looked at that listing in the guide and said, hey, let me add this to my to-do list. So these are people that are interested in Google, and subsequently these are people that Google will probably want to know are interested in them. So let's take a look at this ID, 127185, and we will find this. Here we go. So here is our custom list item. We have a quick link as well here to Builder. And then here are the list of users by email, first and last name, and whatever title they added to their own personal profile. These are the users that actually said, hey, let me add this to my personal to-do list. So this is a really powerful tool when it comes to lead sourcing. And you can do the exact same things for items in the schedule. And the schedule manifest works the same way as the custom list manifest. If you had a sponsored session, for example, you could open that up and see exactly who has added that sponsored session to their own personal calendar. So again, to recap, the 3 core use cases that we can use these reports for would be targeted outreach, engaging, and rewarding rather our really highly engaged users. And for promotion, to re-engage those users that may not be using the guide as much as they should be. And for lead sourcing, to reach out to our exhibitors and sponsors and say, hey, the event's over. These are all the individuals that added your item or that attended your session. What we will do, we will also follow this video up with 3 separate videos while we'll go through each of those use cases that we just discussed as a way to give you that information so you can quickly access it and run through the reports to make things easier for you. Thanks everybody for stopping by. Have fun generating your reports.